I'm so excited to be able to talk with Dan Diez. Dan and I have talked so many times over the years, and if you read the book, you're going to see examples and words of wisdom that I picked up from Dan. So, what we want to do as part of our Future of Climate Action series was loop back with Dan and talk a little bit about how we first met and some of our experiences together, and then get his input for what SEED4COM is doing, as well as what ideas he has for us for going forward, how we can make the biggest impact. So thanks so much, Dan, for joining.
You're welcome, Joanne, and thank you, Green Team Academy. It's good to be back.
Yeah, for sure. So we were just remembering the first time that we connected. I had recently gone through the climate reality training with Al Gore, and I posted on that hub. I said, hey, is anybody here making an impact that would want to come on for grassroots leaders? Tell us how you're doing it. And so one of the first people that reached out was Dan Diez. And so that is pretty neat, Dan, because I think that you are coming up to a big anniversary for SEED4COM, the organization that you founded.
Yes, first and foremost, COM, or Sustainable Energy and Enterprise Development for Communities, is a nonprofit volunteer organization, addresses the sustainable development goals. We have 4 programs to empower communities and transform lives in the areas of energy. We know that we have been in a climate crisis, and Philippines is vulnerable to impacts of climate change. And because of that, 10 years ago, we will be celebrating the Super Typhoon Haiyan. That was the very strong typhoon that affected lives, like over 6,000 people dead, infrastructure, food, housing, etc. in the Philippines. And because of that, there were no power. So what we did is we start with a program for Project Enkindle to provide disaster energy clean systems for villages, island communities, health centers, etc. So that's the first program on energy, because getting energy from the renewables are clean and more healthier for people and planet. Second is we've been moving around to small island, mountain. Because of that, we realized that how important cleanliness, waste management in their community. Philippines, as archipelagic country, is not developed, so there are less income revenue allotment from the national government to process and manage their waste. There's really a need to help in clean up and prevention of these waste, which we are now visible, especially in the marine litter, the macro, microplastic. We've been at the forefront in 2014 when we started our organization. After the environment, we went to education, because it's easy to gather people to do clean up, but if we don't change their heart, if we don't change their attitude and system or lifestyle, we will continue the business as usual. So we really have to change the system. We really have to put in education as part of our program in changing their lifestyles. So we work with schools, we work with non-formal, we work with art of school youth, women and fisher folks being trained to do life skills. And then last is entrepreneurship. This is the idea wherein we help market our communities, their products, such as the farmers in an upland area, the fisher folks in the coastal and islands. We're integrating all these SDGs to reach to more inclusive and geographically isolated disadvantaged areas. So that's basically SEED4COM. And in 2019, as you mentioned, Joanne, we've been supporting the Green Team Academy, making sure that our volunteers and eco leaders can participate internationally, so they can feel that this local action addresses the global problem. We can make impact locally and united with the global team of the Green Team Academy.
I was remembering one of the stories that's in the Climate Action Challenge book is about the ocean cleanup. And one of the things that we've learned a lot from Dan is, just as you were hearing right now, how integrated everything is. And a lot of people will do a one-day cleanup and people feel disempowered because they see how much trash is there. They know that it's just a one-day thing. They go home, they're like, all right, that was something. The example was that doing it multiple years and doing the data collection around it and then presenting that to the city. So getting a lot of partners in the city, in the community, presenting that data, even down to identifying where some of the biggest contributors to that plastic, to the different waste that was gathered, it was actually able to change city policies. And so I think that is one of the big things that we have learned is this idea of, we talk about engage at every level. You can't just go straight to the city and tell them what to do. You also, if you plan a cleanup, you have some data, you show people, so you individually can check your waste. But if you do it as a community and then you go to the city and say, hey, this is what's happening and this is what we need to do. So that was a great example, something that has really inspired us. And the other thing that I saw Dan doing was so many partnerships. And so we got to benefit from that one year when the SEED4COM was running the Eco Leader Boot Camp, a week or 3 days, bringing people in, giving them initial skills. And then I was invited in as a speaker. And then we invited those folks to come and be part of our Climate Action Challenge, International Challenge, as Dan said. And our Filipino team, they were amazing. One for Nature team, they were the one that they were teaching people about solid waste, just what you were saying. And the folks in the community said, yeah, of course we would want to do something better, but we don't have a place to do it. And so this team, within that 90 days, they built their own solid waste management center out of bamboo lumber and tin that they got from a junk yard. And it was just so cool to see the Filipino teams that really jumped in and were able to do things and make a big impact. And Lani Francisco with Bokashi Pinoy is one of the other people we're featuring here, who we've learned so much from. I like what you said too, Dan, about one thing that when people go through the challenge, they realize it's not just their like little idea. They realize how big it is on an international scale. So what would you tell people who are thinking about doing the International Climate Action Challenge, but they're like, I don't know, 90 days, that's too short, that's too long, that's too much work. From your experience, what would you tell people?
Being part of the global climate challenge of the Green Team Academy, you don't have to act big. You act small in your community where you live. You don't have to dream as we dream big, but we localize it. The idea also here is like when you have a small project, you don't need small funding, because that's always the case when you have to start an initiative. Funding is critical. But remember, if you have a team, you have partners, you have volunteers, then you have to tap a lot of resources and potentials among your team members. It has to be clear what problems you are addressing in your own locality. As mentioned also, we started our cleanup initiative because it's a global problem on plastic, but we don't have funding. But when you go to a local government, to your city mayor, or even the local, which is here in the Philippines, we have the elected officials in the community. They have also programs and committee on waste, for example. It could be women, it could be children, PWD. So you go to this committee and you present yourselves and your team that you are there willing to help. And then you ask them what are their concerns. And then you work together as a partner. And once you establish that, it's easy to come up with a plan and make this local government, community on board. And from there, you can do a lot of partnership and fundraising for your identified project. Doing that in a small town, in a small community, joining this Green Team Challenge could help you in terms of planning, execution, in terms of implementation. And the good thing about it is this has been participated internationally, where you can also network and learn from the other teams from around the globe who are also doing this type of project, or connect you with their contacts who had been proven to guide or benchmark on your identified task. So joining the Green Team Challenge, even you don't have yet an idea for a project, is also good because you will be guided as you join the program. Once you've learned via virtual or maybe in person when you meet other mentors, and I remember our Philippine team who joined the Green Team Academy, our volunteers from SEED has also been mentor and guiding local initiatives, just like in QC, the Holy Spirit, the County Farm, of Randy Manggubat. He also joined and doing a lot of impact in Quezon City right now, doing community urban garden in the middle of the street, a national road, and making that spot productive and a learning site for people in terms of growing their own food. So don't think you need a lot of funding to do a project. Just have a clear idea of what problems you're solving. And in that way, we are all interconnected. And that's what's the beauty of the Green Team Academy and this global challenge, because we contribute to this problem globally, and we can be helped with mentors, with the training, and with other Eco Leaders team joining. Be part of the event. Join the challenge. See you on 2024.
Yes, exactly. Oh gosh, I'm going to have to link to all of our different Filipino teams' videos. Yeah, the one that you mentioned, Randy, with the county farm, the video of him starting this community garden in the middle of basically a highway, a very busy road. Fantastic. It's just a 1-minute glimpse into that. And yeah, so all these things start with a small idea and take off. So Dan, I have 2 questions. Number 1, what is SEED4COM's big focus right now?
SEED4COM was started in 2014. It's named after the Sustainable Development Goals, and we're already 2020 and the Sustainable Development Goals. So right now we are reaching the GIDA, geographically isolated disadvantaged areas in the remote islands, in the remote mountains, where we connect them with Wi-Fi or internet connectivity. It can be a satellite, or it can be an antenna point to point, powered by solar, because some of these areas are off the grid. And then we integrate education. Because of the internet, we can empower more students and equip the teachers in the schools with faster internet for them to use this technology. And then second is we work with the Parents Teachers Association, wherein we these groups, especially the parents, because if the parents don't have money, they could not send their kids to school. And we know that parents in the mountain areas are farmers, coastal and island and fisher folks. So we are developing a entrepreneurship program using the internet to market their products online of their harvest. And then we integrate the disaster prevention, risk management using the technology with the internet. Right now, we are doing maybe 4 communities, 3 in the islands and 1 in the upland in this type of project. We called it, for the island, we call it ISLET project, Internet for Sustainable Livelihood, Education, and Tourism. So that's the ISLET project that we are reaching as much as possible. So we need partners, because we as an NGO don't have a lot of income generating activities yet. So we rely deeply on partnership from companies, maybe grants, for example, or funding for these projects to happen. And we always work with our communities to formalize themselves. For example, if they're an informal group in the waste sector, informal group in the fishing associations, or in the farming associations, we formalize them, register them, empower them so that they have their own entity, they have their own voice, they can sit in local government, etc., and access to government funding if there is. So that's how important working with informal sectors, PWDs as well, and even people deprived of, we are now helping them in terms of education, selling their products, especially now, for example, Christmas, they're making lanterns for them to earn while they're still inside the prison facility. So that's our goal still, is nothing has changed. More innovation in terms on the areas, the program of SEED4COM in the energy, in education, using we have one globally, like design a classroom in a van. It's like a mobile cart that we won in 2020, I think. Global competition. We were top 3 with around 800 entries, and it's been implemented. We have a partner who support this type of initiative, and these classrooms is moving around Lapu-Lapu City for the alternative learning system. So we need more of innovations and hoping to reach these far-flung areas to promote and let them also be part of the sustainable development goals. Yeah.
Dan, I have a question for you. How did you, when you first started, I think so many people, they discount their own idea and they're like, somebody else will probably do it, or it's not that big of a deal or something. What gave you the strength to believe in that you were somebody? Because your background was not being an NGO, you were a tech guy, right? What got you, what helped you make that leap?
Yes, I'm an electronic technician, so problem solver, not maker. At that time, after graduating, I worked with a nonprofit organization in the vocational field. So it's more on the investing in young people to be equipped with skills and at the same time be a responsible citizen in their community. Engagement in training and development has been with me for 10 years. After that, I stopped in the tech education system and do volunteers, travel to 43 countries, learn from different communities, IPs, and you travel. When you travel, it's learning with the best practice and sometimes with bad practices, and you have to customize it locally. So when I came back to the Philippines, I adapt to these learnings, attending many conferences, workshops that I have to invest or ask friends to help to fund for the ticket, to ask people to accommodate me, because I believe that there's a good cause and there will be a good supporter for this causes that you want. And basically, there's a lot of challenge even in the areas of environment, because this is not an area that is very supported by the corporate. So maybe on the top 10 fundraising, maybe the environment could be on the top 6 or 7, not in the top 3. So that's why, based on our experiences with the last cleanup this year, although we have mobilized a lot with social media, local partner with Cebu City and different LGUs, companies don't have that resources to really fund this type of initiative. So that's why our goal with SEED4COM is to come up with a law that there should be one day for the Philippines to have Environment Day. Although there are international days of environment, but we participate, but there is no a law to make it a holiday or people to stop working, do environment program, access funds from the local government can be channeled to, because there's a law on the environment for the Philippines.
So you're talking about changing the culture so that everyone feels that it's their duty, their responsibility. Of course, we're going to go spend some of our time and do a cleanup or plant some trees, but you're trying to change it so it's like every person has some kind of hands-on stewardship with the environment at least once a year.
Yes, because whatever initiative you're doing as a group, if it's not anchored to policies, if it's not anchored to programs of the local government or the city, you will really exhaust your effort to do it on your group alone. But working with the programs or concerns of your locality, then you can contribute a lot. And even though how small it is, it will be meaningful, more valuable because you're part of that solution. That's the idea for those who want to start small with less budget. Be part of the puzzle. Be that missing piece to make that puzzle beautiful, right? To complete that puzzle. And that is you. And that's why the Green Team Academy is there. That's why SEED4COM is there and many other NGOs doing local action, but supporting international movements. For example, SEED4COM, last year we got our accreditation. So we're sending a lot of volunteers, partners to UN environment programs worldwide, but we don't fund them, so they fund themselves. We're happy that we've sent a lot of our young leaders in these United Nations environment programs in different countries, in Europe, in Kenya, in New York, etc. So that's how we can also motivate our volunteers and partners that joining in, investing their time. This can lead them to environmental leaders. They can create their own local team, equipped with national and international laws that they can be an advocate and implement them at the same time doing learnings online. But the most important thing is face-to-face activity, whether local or international.
And two important things that you said, I think the one is talking to people who many think that whoever's in politics is maybe their enemy, but when you have that conversation where you're saying, what are your concerns? You're asking them, what are your concerns? How can we help you? You just became, and then you want to be their solution. That missing puzzle piece that sets up a completely different dynamic than just yelling through a megaphone of, why are you guys doing this? Which nobody wants to be on the
did that. We have a climate walk. We have megaphones to stop the decisions of our elected officials. I did that as well. But we have to also learn how to play the game, how to win them as partners. Because not all the time we all say yes. We always say yes to them. We will also remind them that their role is public service. Their role is protecting people, planet, and sometimes that's our enemy when their eyes are covered with money or so they can't see anymore.
It's our job to remind them, hey, this is what we want and you represent us. So let's do it together. Awesome. All right. And then the last thing is, as you're seeing Green Team Academy, we host the International Climate Action Challenge. What other things do you see for the future for us, ways that we could maybe be more impactful? We're gathering a wish list that people have, any ideas that you have that will have our leadership team start digging through these in 2024. So the question is, what advice do you have for Green Team Academy to make the biggest impact for the future?
Oh, so curating, coming up with more books maybe on either doing it online or printed material. At the same time, it's also good that there are events where the challengers who completed the program can be showcased, whether virtually or in events in person. So it's good to come up with moving, maybe small step, moving to America, to Central, to South, to Asia, Europe, similar like that, because it's so expensive also to gather all people in one place. But I know if it's a long time with planning and preparation, they can make it for their visas, for their trip. I've attended a lot of hackathons, a lot of fellowship programs in person, and also hybrid That's the way to go. We just don't want to be involved with high tech, high touch, but let's also come up with a face-to-face events in the future. And I'm looking forward for that.
I like that. So you're saying we have this amazing way we can bring people together virtually from around the world, but also let's complement that with local, in-person, high touch. Something like Bokashi Pinoy is a good example of how they're doing things, which we're talking with Lainey as well. So that's perfect. All right, great. Thank you again, Dan, for all the motivation and inspiration and all that research that you did going around the world, that we have been soaking that in and trying to share that with everybody that we come in contact with. And we're excited to continue learning from you and collaborating as we go forward. So we'll put links in here for anyone that wants to contribute to the 10-year anniversary of Yolanda, also known as Haiyan, or learn more about SEED4COM going forward. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you, Green Team Academy. You've been helping us in empowering our eco leaders through training online, and at the same time supporting our green program planting in the island. So thank you for that support. We planted trees in the island of Olango while we do the clean. Go green.
Go. And we'll put the links to all the different Filipino teams so you can check out what all they did in 90 days and get inspired yourself. So thanks, Dan. Have a great evening. Bye.
Good.